Additionally, we are also recommending our patients who are pregnant to also receive the COVID booster vaccines. And for me, it's super important, not only as a healthcare provider, but because I'm also pregnant and want to make sure that my pregnancy is as safe as possible. The CDC is recommending that all adults receive the COVID booster vaccine. And additionally, we are also recommending our patients who are pregnant to also receive the COVID booster vaccines. And for me, it's super important, not only as a healthcare provider, but because I'm also pregnant and want to make sure that my pregnancy is as safe as possible.
Yes, you can achieve a college education right here in your own community. Harcum College's ACE program at the Deliverance Evangelistic Church offers associate degree programs that can help you land a good job and improve your quality of life.
I like Harcum and Debbie because I can continue my education.
The teachers are great. The atmosphere is great.
It's all possible through iLead and Harcum.
Call now or check out our Facebook page at Harcum College at Deliverance Evangelistic Church.
Everybody, kids are back in school, back in college. I'm here in Washington, D.C. at George Washington University campus downtown in Washington, D.C. And that's where my medical office is right there. Those who've never been to D.C., you in the heart of what's popping, George Washington University. All these kids, you know what that means, folks? That means everything is coming back to the world of no mask is coming soon. Back. Look at all of these kids. Just look for yourself. These kids are from the campus of George Washington University in Washington, D.C. Let's walk down some more, folks. My favorite place there is Whole Foods. You can see that. But I'm just amazed. Look at all the young people. This is what I'm talking about, folks. If the world is going to change with no mask again, it's going to begin with them. Yep. Now, older folk like me, I think we're going to have some older folk like me that's going to be wearing the mask a little longer. But summer 2022, when I look at these young people out here, and these young people, this is what's they're the future. Some of them still have masks on, some of them still don't have masks. We're here at George Washington University. That's where my sons were born, in that hospital right there. Stephen was born there, Amos was born there. My wife delivered my kids. That's where I've been going for the last 30 years. This is where the president go. All the presidents come right here for their medical business. But look at the kids, folks. Look at the kids. That's what I want to show you guys. This is the future coming back. The world of no mask again. It's going to be right with them. Where it's going to stop, folks. If it's going to change, it's going to change with them. These are the kids coming back. downtown Washington, D.C., folks. That's where it all popping and rocking. I love it, bro. See you, man. Do your thing, man. I love DC. Because you got the love down here. DC, y'all. So if you've never been to Washington, D.C., the wheels of economics is here. Where we roll in D.C. When you come to D.C., you got to check out the Pick TV network and the President David Evans. You got to check us out. We're going to make sure you have a good time. D.C. love. We down here at the George Washington University campus, right downtown in the heart of Washington, D.C. The Capitol's right around the corner, the Monument right around the corner, the White House right around the corner. Everything is right down here.
We've all been hurt at some point, even abandoned. Many of us have done the hurting ourselves. We get to the point where we don't trust anyone, nor do we feel worthy of being loved by anyone. Then there's that one person who just doesn't give up on loving you. Their love is unconditional. Their love stays long enough for you to heal. And then they promise to never leave. That's love you can count on. God's love.
Hello, everybody. This is David Evans, President Pick TV Network. We have a brand new show popping and rocking just for you. And we want to thank everybody for looking at us today and watching with us today. Our brand new show, Hello America, live from Washington, D.C. Hello America is a television show right from the Pick TV Network, original, beaming across the world. We always like to welcome our audience, especially our international audience. So we want to thank our audience for coming in from Brazil, France, Colombia, Mexico, Panama, Paris, Peru, Argentina, Egypt. Daniel is there. Canada, Burke is there. Ireland, West Africa, United Kingdom, Germany, and United States. So we're literally on all around the world, and we have interpreters through Roku that is interpreting this presentation right now. You know, we're going to talk about a subject today that's really dear to my heart, because when we were doing a study on students mistreated in Ukraine, and I asked Brother Campbell to come in. Mr. Campbell is from the Pick TV Network, and he also is one of our co-founders with Pick TV Network. And we're going to talk about how African Americans are mistreated over in Ukraine. Hey, how you doing, Brother Campbell? How you doing, man?
Fantastic. Thanks, Doc. How are you?
Man, we're doing good, man. My heart is kind of heavy because, you know, we've been watching this war, and our hearts go out to all the families, no matter what your race, creed, color, background is. It goes out to everybody who's trying to flee for their lives. but I'm really concerned about the African American students that are there who stuck in. We have footage, and we're going to be showing that footage about how they are over there. You had talked about this issue even before we recorded some of this footage, how bad it is over there with us and people of color.
You know, Ukraine is an interesting place, and for those who haven't been, it's you're not going to find a lot of melanated people walking around the streets of Ukraine. That's just to begin with. So that's just a fact. And the folks that are there are students, they're young people, they're found themselves stuck in the middle of a war zone and are experiencing a significant amount of racism where they're prevented from getting out of the country to board the buses and trains. They have children, some of 2 or 3 years old, sit in the cold and can't get support. They're being treated inhumanely. And I'm glad that the attention is now being brought to this issue, because there was probably a half of a line mention of it on CNN several days ago. And we have to raise awareness, because you have folks who are in a foreign country, find themselves in a war, and now they're being denied access to escape. And they're being denied entry to the only route of escape to Poland that is open to them. The situation troubled me dearly when I first became aware of it and shared it with you. And I'm glad that you're able to do some research and follow up on it, because if it's not for opportunities like what we have here in the PIC TV network to bring forth the truth, it would be swept under the rug for the most part in America. So I'm glad there's some other networks and our networks and folks who are becoming more aware of the situation, because if something has to be done, that you should not have time to be prejudiced and discriminate against people when everyone is looking to escape being bombed and killed, and particularly if that's not even your home country. So it was just a very disturbing situation, and it affected me greatly. And I'm glad that the folks who are on the ground were working together to get themselves out and sticking together, supporting each other. I'm glad that we're bringing awareness to the situation, see if we can bring some pressure onto the Congress and the world alike to force people to act more humanely.
Doc, let's go and see some of this footage, man. And we want to say to everybody who's watching, Hello America is a brand new show created by PIC TV Network, like Good Morning America. This is our version, uncut, uncensored. And we're going to connect with our broadcast and show you a clip of what's going on over there with one of our sister broadcasters over in Ukraine.
To flee Russia's invasion of Ukraine. Leaders from the continent have said that they are disturbed at reports that African citizens have been refused crossing to safety over the Polish border. The African Union said that singling out Africans trying to escape war would be shockingly racist, and called on all countries to show the same amount of empathy to all victims of the conflict. Now, the reports add a disturbing dimension to the conflict that has sent 500,000 people flooding out of the country. Amongst them, Africans that hail from everywhere from Kenya, Ghana, Nigeria to Morocco and Ivory Coast. More than 20% of Ukraine's international students are Africans. Some say that many non-white people have been prevented from boarding buses and trains, refused entry into Poland, been forced to give up their seats, and been threatened with violence while stuck at borders.
It was a very terrible experience for me. Like, last 10 days in Ukraine was very, very difficult for me. Like, it wasn't what I was expecting. The military there was very mean. They were just so mean to us, like as if we were no humans. No food, nothing, no support. It was just on your own. All they did was go to your embassy. If your embassy is not there, the rest they leave it up to you. We worked for like 12 hours with no food and nothing. You just have to. That was one of my worst experience. Like, the soldiers that was on duty that day was mean. They were just so heartless. Like, they treated us like animals totally. So they started chasing us away, hitting us with wood. And even, you can see they even hit my leg right here.
Now, there are also some reports of solidarity and support for frightened Africans who have made it over the border. Poland's ambassadors dismissed claims of unfair treatment. Many African governments, meanwhile, have been scrambling to help their nationals escape. Nigeria has called for its citizens to be treated with dignity. Samuel Okoye has more.
It's quite a big problem in Nigeria. The social media has been very active, reporting events in Poland and Ukraine. And the suffering Nigerians have been going through, it has become quite an issue for many people who have relatives there. Some of these people are quite young, students. Some of these people have babies, and we've seen a lot of hardship they are going through. When this war started, the feeling was that the Ukrainians have been oppressed, but now the Nigerians are beginning to have this feeling that the oppressed are becoming the oppressors, given the way the Nigerians and other Africans have been treated in the country.
And what are some of the reports that you're hearing? What is this treatment? We heard a little bit there from a young man who said that the border guards were mean, but does it go beyond that?
Well, we've had cases of where people were almost outrightly robbed. We hear of cases where Nigerians have been accused, termed to be Russians, even though clearly they are Africans, and for this reason they were beaten up that they are Russians, they are working for the Russians. We've heard of cases where women with children, babies, have been denied seats in trains, in buses. We've heard of cases where even those who had seats were being forced to give up these seats so that some other persons can take these seats. We've seen photographs and videos from bus stations, train stations, where you see all those that are left behind are just Africans, mainly Nigerians.
So what's the response been from the Nigerian government?
Well, the Nigerian government has been quite, has responded on this. It said everybody should be treated with dignity. That's in a conflict situation, everybody should, under the UN Convention, everybody should have a right to escape, irrespective of the color of their skin, irrespective of the passports they are carrying. And the government said Iranian authorities and Polish authorities have denied Nigerians the right to escape. And they said this should stop so that the Nigerians should be allowed to go to safety. So, of course, the Nigerian government cited instances also where Nigerians have been denied entry into Poland. The government outrightly said there is discrimination and Nigerians have been discriminated on account of their skin color.
But Cameron, when you see that, man, it tears me up, because here we're 400 years later. We're in Washington, D.C. We got a show coming from Washington, D.C. But we have our brothers and sisters there trying to continue their education before this war happened, just going to school, trying to better themselves. And now they find themselves fighting for their lives and can't even get out. I mean, if you get to the train before I do, it shouldn't matter what color we are. But over there it does.
You're absolutely right. And it's conflicting to have empathy for the people being bombed when they are discriminating and putting people that look like you. I could easily be in that situation. You could easily be in that situation. Any one of us could easily be in that situation. And we can't take it lightly. The young man that was speaking, when he said that the soldiers have been mean, his lack of command of the English language, it should not be taken lightly that he's saying the soldiers are mean. I think he lacks the vocabulary to truly express the mistreatment, the discrimination, the brutalization, the violence that he has been experiencing. And he was very clear. They were beaten, they've been denied, they haven't received food, they're not providing any kind of assistance. They're living in a torturous environment, attempting to escape war like everybody else, particularly since that's not their home country. They should be given certain considerations to make sure that people who are visiting their country get the opportunity, like anybody else, to get out. And they're being targeted, they're being detained, they're being abused. This treatment is absolutely, you know, just disgusting in behalf of the people from Ukraine.
Wow. Yeah. And you know, I can tell, you know, before we even start the broadcast, everybody's watching, you're watching a brand new show called Hello America from PIC TV Network, produced by us, designed by us, founded by us, PIC TV Network, only seen here, our version of Good Morning America, but Hello America. Campbell, you were, when we were talking earlier, man, you were really heated up, man. You were really passionate about the babies over there. And you said it's even worse than this. And I couldn't imagine anything worse, but you stated it is worse than what we see.
The coverage that we're seeing the coverage of the people, the gentleman who, once he's gotten out of Ukraine, telling about his experience, and we're seeing the coverage of the people at the airport being denied access to the trains. There are people not able to get that far. They're in the cities that are currently being bombed. They're stuck in shelters on the ground or in the garages on the ground. They're dealing with racism while being in the city of different cities in Ukraine. There are no reporters there filming those stories. They're not out doing their camera phones. They're just doing all they can to survive. They're doing what they can to get out and survive. Then they can be interviewed and tell the stories on TV. But for right now, they're in the thick of the battle, and they're not getting any support. There are stories of Africans are going back in once they found a way out to help other Africans and create our own network of rescuing our own people because no one else is helping us. So we're creating financial support, sending financial support. There are different individuals on the ground who are African helping other Africans escape. They have the same situation with folks from the Middle East, which is just North Africa. There is no such thing as the Middle East. They're North Africans. So they have the same situation, attempting to make their way out into safety as well. I don't know how, in the middle of a situation like this, people find the time to be racist when we should all be coming together to make sure that everyone gets safe and, you know, can see babies that, I mean, Ukraine gets cold. I mean, you're talking about negative 20, 30, 40, 50 degrees cold. So I'm not sure what the temperature is there now, but it's definitely not, 70, 85 degrees. So we should be more sensitive to, getting people who come there to the train and come to the train station, just getting them on the first thing moving and getting people out and getting them to safety. And that should be what the concern is of the government and the soldiers that's there, that's preventing, because we're talking about individuals and people who are at these locations, stopping one able-bodied male whose only difference is he's of a melanated hue and a white Ukrainian. That's the only difference. He was there first. They were there first. They stopped them, removed them, and bring white Ukrainians on to take their place and leave them staying at the train station. That is disgusting.
Yeah, my heart goes out to everyone who's fighting for their lives. And I was just quietly disturbed when I go to CNN and go to Fox 5 and, go to all the other big major networks. And I hear little coverage of the African American students who are mistreated and those who are just college students. These are kids. Campbell, one day my godson, your son, he'll be going away. So what if he was over there right now?
I think any parent should have empathy regarding the situation, and every human being that's watching the situation should feel, you know, a should feel the pain that the Ukrainian people are feeling because they're being attacked by Russia. They're being invaded. They're being occupied, and they're doing all they can to fight back. But at the same token, the African students are not their enemy, and they're fighting their anger, their racism, their hatred. It's all coming out for whatever reason. Instead of everybody sticking together to save human life, they're putting the lives of the folks who are there just to get an education, the kids who are there just to get an education, because we have to identify the fact that they are children. Most of them have not traveled before. This is the first time they're experiencing these type of conditions and going through these situations. They're there to get an education, and when people are visiting your country, you have a responsibility to make sure they're protected, safe, and taken care of. That's what we do here when we have visitors coming from other countries. We do our best to keep them safe, protected. They're kind of sheltered. So it just seems like it would be a courtesy to make sure that people who are visibly not from your country can, be protected and escape the brutality that's taking place in the war and the violence that Russia is bringing throughout the different cities in the country.
Let's see if we can get a little more footage on this. I am just amazed. I gotta get the audio in here with them. But we have our brother, he's covering some footage here, how some African Americans are mistreated over in Ukraine. And you can see, as you see, they're still trying to communicate on the phone. It's just one of those things where you see so many African Americans again are just stuck.
Continental Africans as well.
Yeah. It's so. And this brother's telling his testimony, and while he's talking, I'm going to try and plug in the audio. There's going to be a bomb while he's talking about what's going on over there in his in this area. There's literally going to be a bomb that goes off, and he's going to run in a few minutes. When I saw this, it just touched my heart. Campbell, when you see this, man, I know it's heartening for you too, bro. When you see how this is a student, it's a young man. He's trapped. They can't even go outside. He says there's no food. There's no place to go. They just left him there in this area, and he just stuck. And while he's talking there, he's a Nigerian student, and there's going to be like an explosion that's going to go off while he's there, and amazing.
No support. They're on their own.
Yeah.
And if you've ever traveled abroad, if there's ever a conflict that takes place, it's terrifying. Because if you're in your city, you know the escape routes, you know where you can go. You're at least, no matter how terrifying it is, you're comfortable because you're home. There's nothing like being in on a foreign soil that you don't know the difference between up or down, especially after the city's been bombed. You have no idea how to navigate your way around, and people are not courteous to say, hey, come this way, come with me, you're basically stuck and isolated. And you have to figure it out on your own.
Yeah.
Our colleague Kaya Kumalo is there with them. Kaya, some beautiful scenes coming out from the OR Tambo International Airport as the students arrive. Tell us what's been happening this morning.
Well, that's right, Desiree. Very heartwarming scene here as the two students who were caught up really in those very ugly scenes in Ukraine. They've really just arrived in here. And of course, it's been a very agonizing experience for them. So I'm just going to go straight just to hear how they are feeling. So Nkateko, I'm just going to start with you. You're live on SABC News. How are you feeling right now? Finally, you're home after a very terrible ordeal.
Yeah, it's been a 5 or 6 day trip. Minimum sleep. I feel quite overwhelmed, but I'm really glad to be home. We didn't think we'd be home, honestly. From being in trains to seeing bombs to being stuck in borders for -3 conditions, sleeping on the floor without having food. It's good to be home, honestly. Yeah.
And let's hear from you, Mandisa. I mean, not a very good experience for you guys that you endured.
As you said, like traveling for 4 days, not having proper food, no water, fighting for our lives, fighting other people, people trying to fight you, people stealing food, people fighting each other to get on trains, the racism at the borders, the low temperatures, freezing cold, us having to sleep on the street. Yeah.
So it was a survival of the fittest. You guys make it.
You have to run.
Honestly, by the
you need to know how to run. Yeah.
By the grace of God.
Yeah.
And I must say, I must thank the people in Hungary, especially Peter. As soon as we arrived, the hospitality was amazing. We got taken care of, given food, water, shelter. That was nice to experience that kind of hospitality.
And did you guys feel at some point that you were left in your own devices because the assistance really was not really forthcoming, was it?
Assistance. All I just keep hearing all the time is send a list of names, send a list of names, just wait. Wait for how long? Because if we had waited until Monday to leave, Monday there's nothing. There's no school, our apartments are gone. If we did not leave Friday, we wouldn't be here today. If we didn't leave Friday.
So you guys are back home. What are you going to do now?
Sleep.
Try and look for different schools. Like, we are fourth-year medical students, so we don't know what's going to happen now since our university is deteriorated. Our city is done. There's nothing. Rubbles. It's dire. It's really, really dire. I must say, that might be hard. Like, we're trying to apply. That'll be what I'm doing here.
All right, guys, we're going to leave it for now. But Desiree, I'm just going to see if we can speak to the mother just to hear her. How is she feeling right now? She was telling me about a very traumatic experience she had to endure as well. So, Mama, right now, how are you feeling? Your daughter is finally home. You were telling me about the flight you had to try and get and experiencing all kinds of hardship. How are you feeling at this point?
I'm so relieved. I'm so relieved, and I thank God they are here. I can see them now. Physically, I can see them. I thank God. That's all I can say.
How was that experience when Mandisa was sending you the voice notes right in the thick of one of the very unprecedented time, right in the war?
It was very difficult for us as a family, but we had to pray and trust God that He is protecting them. Not only Mandisa, all of them. I was praying for all of them. I was even praying for the whole of Ukraine. So God is so wonderful. God is so wonderful. He's so faithful. Yes, all I can say, I thank God.
All right, Mama, thank you so much. Of course, Desiree, that's Mandisa's mother. Of course, she's quite grateful. It hasn't been a very easy experience. And of course, you can see the scene where we are, right? The arrivals at terminals. Of course, you can see the families here. You can really see a very heartwarming moment. It's a joyous occasion as the family now will be interacting and making sure that their children are looked after. But also they were really talking about their experiences, really traversing the hardship and really a very emotionally taxing experience being away from home, especially because it's the coldest time in Ukraine. So imagine facing quite a very horrendous war. So for that, Desiree.
Well, Cam, when you see that, man, we sleeping in warm beds tonight. We got food in our icebox. We have clothes to wear. We have fresh water to take a bath. You have 2 kids at the house and a beautiful wife and taking care of mom. They said they had to sleep on the streets. They said they didn't have food to eat. She said if they hadn't left on Friday, Campbell, they wouldn't have got out. That's 2 out of the thousands and thousands of ones who's still trying to make it where they are.
It's -3 degrees in Ukraine. And, nights get colder. Ukraine is a cold place. And coming from a warm climate, they're not dressed to survive that environment. They don't have the right gear to survive in the cold. They're wearing a hoodie and a couple clothes underneath. They just don't have. The government and the folks there should be doing all they can to address the visitors that they have in their country so they can get them out, evacuate them. They can't go to the embassies. Most of the embassies have been evacuated. And unfortunately, there aren't much resources. I'm glad the trains have still been running in Ukraine. So the trains are going back and forth. The buses are going back and forth. But they're experiencing racism in different areas once they leave Ukraine. So it's not a smooth transition once they get out of Ukraine. Getting out of Ukraine in itself is a challenge. But apparently the entire journey to get back home is challenging. Along the way, they're experiencing some very difficult and challenging times. And I just hope that the governments take this opportunity to reflect on how they're presenting themselves, how they're treating visitors. And I can't say the United States is any better because we continue to experience racism and discrimination in this country, and we are pretty much at the forefront of diversity and inclusion, but we still have our challenges in this country. So we're not pointing the finger at any other nation saying be like us. By all means, no. We all have a far and long road to travel, and we should just do the best to make sure that people are treated fairly, with dignity, decency, and not discriminated against just because that they are different color, not because they are different weight class, not because they're different orientation, not because they have different hairstyles. When we're in particular these type of situations, we should just respectful of human life, and that's my issue. And
और कि कोई 2-3 दिन से सोया नहीं है और हमारे रात को मेन हमें रात को रहने की जगह इसलिए चाहिए क्योंकि रात को -3 से -10 के बीच में टेम्परेचर हो जाता है जो बिल्कुल अनबेरेबल है और हम सब इमरजेंसी में आए हैं तो रेगुलरली सब एक जैकेट में आए हैं अंदर जनरली सबके टी शर्ट है या तो नीचे ट्राउजर्स हैं या जीन्स है
You know, I was listening to the government's call upon India to get in the fight, call upon India to get into Ukraine and send soldiers and get involved with the war. And the question is, the environment for them have not been welcoming. You know, you can't discriminate against people, attack people, beat up on people, and then ask for them to help you in your crisis, particularly while you're going through your crisis. You know, it's disheartening to watch. It's uncalled for. It's uncalled for. People just want to get home. They just want to get out. They want to be safe, and they're worrying about getting bombs dropped on them from the enemy approaching, and they can't advance because they're being discriminated and beaten by the forces that's supposed to be securing and protecting them. You know, they're in a situation where they have to fend for themselves, similar to the Africans, similar to the people from Muslim countries. It's an environment that if you're not Ukrainian, if you don't look like you were born there, if you're not white Ukrainian, you're not welcomed, you're not assisted, you're not supported. You are basically on your own fending for yourself.
Yeah, and I think, you know, when we think about it, Campbell, you know, over there, it's two wars. It's the wars against the bombs of Russia, and then the color of your skin. Let's just be real. Let's be honest. For them to be mistreated, go to the train station, we're not letting you on. Go to the bus station, you're not letting you on. I had another footage that we have from over there with one of our brothers and sisters. They walked to the bus stop and they said, we're not letting you guys on. And the next, you know, you have to walk the rest of the way. The rest of the way was 8 hours, no food.
Yeah.
8 hours, 8 hours. And the sister walked 8 hours and made it, thank God.
And it's in -3, -10, 18, 20 degrees, 10-degree weather. It's not pleasant, you know. And if you're not dressed for it, if you don't have the right shoes on, if you don't have, you know, insulated pants on, if you're not wearing layers, it is not an easy journey. You know, it's harder to walk in when it's colder. The air is thinner. You're carrying, you know, bags. It's not an easy walk. It could be a march of death for, you know, a lot of people. And unfortunately, it's not just the war and the bombs and the guns that's going to kill a lot of our people. It's going to be conditions that they were forced into.
Yeah, that's big, man. You know, when we were getting the footage for this presentation, man, I was just so disturbed because I knew, you know, I've been watching the news and watching this, you know, everything here. But when we turn on the major networks, we don't see a lot of the footage that we're showing on PIC TV network tonight.
Nope, we don't.
Matter of fact, we don't see too much of anything. I was going to show this young lady in a minute. That they are showing about what's going on over there from the African American perspective, and there's so many students again that they're, and just to be a student, you know, a student in the location, and you go to get your education, and you don't expect this to happen. Look at the mom with her baby in her hand, and you talked about that earlier today. You know, you have people with African American who have babies, and look, they said there's a train station right now, and they can't get on. They can't get on. They won't let us on. It's just unbelievable. It's just unbelievable being denied entry at the borders. Campbell, we from Washington, D.C. You've been on Capitol Hill. you fought for different things. This young lady talking about how her life, man, the passport. It seemed like there's, Indians are second Africans, and she's talking about her story. This man has a baby in his hand, and it's just so many people who are hurting there. And again, I just think fair treatment with everybody. Look at these brothers outside the train station, Campbell. Just trying to get on. There's gunshots going on. Indians were saying the wars were guns shot at them, beaten. They tried to get to port. Hundreds of thousands of people. How far can you walk before your legs give out? How far can you go without food and water?
With children. Like I said, they're putting folks on the death march. The members of Congress were recently in Ukraine, and I don't think this was an issue that was brought up. We have to. Ukraine is getting $1 billion from the U.S. government. They're getting resources and support from NATO countries, and they're getting other resources from different explorations in African countries. So they have relationships with the countries that the folks have been stuck or being mistreated in. I think the governments of these countries need to demand that they get their citizens out. It needs to be a priority. I know when anything goes on in any other country, we go to the embassy first and get out first. If we're stuck, they have arrangements to make sure that we get across the board. There should be some type of protocol in place to make sure that instead of folks being discriminated against and getting beaten at the border, instead of shooting warning shots so they can go back, everyone that gets there should be welcomed. Everyone that gets to that border should be treated with dignity, should be provided sanctuary, should be provided relief, water, blankets. That's what our donations, that's what our Red Cross, that's what the UN, any support that's being sent over, that's what it's there for. It's not labeled for Ukraine use only. It's there to support and assist the people that come across, the refugees and anyone else who's escaping, displaced persons, anyone else who are, escaping the war. And that's the bottom line. Aid and support doesn't have a color on it.
Yeah, I think the images that we see speaks for themselves when we see so many people fighting for their lives, and my heart goes out to students. I'm a former high school teacher and college teacher.
In the chat is just help, please, can you help us out, please, can anybody help? There's parents there, there's children there, and they're trapped there, and it's when the news came about what happened in Kyiv, we were scrambling to get supplies together because we knew we had to leave. The next day, there were sirens that went off, so we immediately decided to leave. We left everything, and we headed to the border of Romania. So the day the news broke out, I instantly thought about the African community in Ukraine because I knew nobody would prioritize what was going to happen to us. So I started creating Telegram chats so that people could communicate and think of ways to get out, and sharing resources on Twitter, along with trying to find my own way out. The students on the ground in Sumi have been like raising their concerns with me about what is happening. So far we've been able to find 1,000 students, but there's still some students that we're not in touch with, and the number is growing every single day. So currently they're all packed into like little areas in hostels together because it's not safe. We've been told that they're now running out of food. In the shops, there's just snacks. They're too scared to leave to even go get more food. So the situation is very, very serious. Like it's very dire. I'm exhausted. I'm so tired of the journey itself, but I'm also increasingly like, it's really, really upsetting me, like speaking to students every day who are crying out for help. And I know that I've managed to cross over to the other side, and I can't help those people by myself. We realize that trying to put the buses together ourselves without any support from any convoy or anybody who can assure their safety out of Sumi, we may be actually putting their lives in danger. So now we're just trying to raise awareness of the situation and appeal for help at the powers at be.
Well, Campbell, when I hear the young lady talking, man, how some of the students are scared. They're stuck in places. They don't want to leave because they don't have nowhere to go. Food's running out. Me and you were young, man. We were in our teens. We were in our 20s. But we never faced nothing like that before. Did you see all the people at the train track, at the train station, Campbell?
Yeah. I think all the evidence that we've seen this evening supports all the claims that you've heard we've been talking about. We didn't make this story up. We didn't not assuming that this is what's happening. We're seeing evidence, clear evidence of it by people who are on the ground. You know, we're hearing it directly from them. It's the situation that the government, the military, the police have created, have exacerbated the need and the circumstances that the international students found themselves in. They can't stay where they're at because they're being bombed. They don't know which direction is up, down, north, south, east, west, because the city's been leveled. If they go the wrong direction, they're running into the arms of the Russians. Who are the aggressors that's coming in, killing people and mowing down cities. And when they do find their way to the exit to get out, instead of being welcomed and supported, they're detained, whipped, beaten, starving, frozen. They're in a no-win situation, so they're doing the best they can as children. And it's important to point out the fact that they are children, because 12-year-old melanated child is considered an adult. So these are children. We have to identify the fact that they're not professionals, they're students, their studies. This is probably their first time getting away from home. So they're in a situation that we have to call out those governments and people who are pretty much detaining and terrorizing African folks and melanated people, African Americans, international students, Indian, Muslim, all forms of discrimination, prejudice, racism, brutality at the hands of the Ukrainians need to be addressed. At the hands of Poland needs to be addressed. At the hands of other actors that are receiving these visitors and people being displaced, it needs to be addressed. They need to be called out and be held accountable for their actions.
Wow. When I hear the young lady talking, man, I want to salute this queen because she's going beyond the call of duty, man, to tell the story and to share the information to the world, man. And thank God for social media like Twitter and other things that we can still communicate and tell our story. We here in America, we got the biggest networks in the world, multi-million, billion-dollar networks. CNN, we see it all over the world. NBC, Fox 5, CBS, all the major networks. But yet still, I haven't seen one story, not one story with this young lady in it. Not one. Not one.
You know, when you watch U.S. news, American news channels, you're being bombarded with certain images and a certain point of view. You know, Al Jazeera does a great job of mixing it up. International channels, we have to be able to tap into the world. There's things more important than what's taking place solely in the United States, because we live in a global world. What happens in Ukraine affects us directly.
That's right.
When
I put gas in my tank, Doc, I put $20 in and it didn't even move, Campbell. The needle didn't even move.
It's because you're driving that tank. We have to. I explain this to children. You're not competing with the person sitting to your left or to your right. You're competing with somebody in another country that is hungrier, or more hungry, more determined, more seeking a desire for change, more so than you if you're not serious about your education. So we can't say Mexicans are coming to take our jobs. They're not coming. The U.S. invited them to come. We said this is the greatest country in the world with the best opportunities. They would be stupid not to come. They can come, work, support their families, because whether it's Caribbean doctors, Caribbean nurses, Mexican farmers, European house, what are they called, helpers, people coming from all over the globe. And if they did not come here, this country would have to do what they did in the beginning to be great, which is put everybody back in slavery who were of our color and complexion. What made this country great is the contribution by Germans, Italians, Polish, Africans, Caribbeans, Asians. That's what makes this country great. And if we are not opening our doors to welcome people, if we're doing what they're doing in Ukraine and in Poland and other places, if we continue to discriminate and not see the value of human life and human beings and what their contributions are to society at large, then we're already halfway down a very terrible path. Because if we don't understand that value, what's coming next is going to be critical. We have a new pandemic strain that is on its way here. China has already locked down 50 million people. Europe is locking down people. It's coming here too. So if we think that mass mandates is keeping us sick, no, they were actually saving our lives. We need to make sure we're acting with intelligence and have value for human life, deal with issues like the pandemic, deal with issues like what's taking place in Ukraine, deal with racism, because the next wave of terror could be in the form of a nuclear weapon or a pandemic weaponized COVID strain that can be more ravaging than anything we've ever seen. We don't know what's to come, but we should be making sure that we value human life and protect everybody so that we can, continue on as a people on this planet.
Everybody watching a brand new show on Pick TV Network, exclusively for Pick TV, with Pick TV, by Pick TV. Hello America, uncut, uncensored, our version of Good Morning America, and you can watch it all day right here on the Pick TV Network channels. Brother Campbell, you were with me at the MGM 14 months ago when we started Pick TV Network. Me, you, your wife, and she said a list of channels that we can do with show names, and you put the first seed or the first pack of money and said make it happen, because I didn't have it. Why is it so important for Pick to stay alive? Why is it important for us to have our own network? Why is it important for us to be able to do what we're doing through Pick?
I think you touched on it earlier. Whether it's CNN, MSN, ABC, NBC, all the major networks and everybody's familiar with. If you have an idea for a documentary, an idea for a show, if you're performing, if you want to read your poetry, you're not going to be able to get on those shows. You need to they have their own set of programming, their own guidelines. With Pick, we're in a position where we can find room for you. You can get a chance to express your viewpoints. You can actually turn on Pick and see 4 Black women who are medical students or doctors or surgeons have conversations about their background and their experiences, so you can learn from them. You can turn on Pick and see, 5, 10, 15 Black men sitting around having conversations about the direction and flow of being a Black father, Black husband, Black in America, the issues of police brutality. You have there's no limit to access to media that we don't have. And if we don't have access to media, we have to rely on somebody else to tell our story from their point of view. I think Denzel said it best in one of the interviews. They were asked, why did he need to do something like a Black movie? And he said, it's not me doing a Black movie. It's, he said Schindler's List was a great movie, but they didn't it wasn't done by a Black person. It was done by Spielberg, who happens to be Jewish, because they can relate. There's certain familiarity, relatability. There's certain experience that they can put into it that, I haven't been Jewish. I would know the beginning of that story. I wouldn't know the beginning of their walk. I wouldn't understand their challenges and their oral history and what's been passed down through tradition. The same way we can't allow for other folks to tell our story, they can tell our story from their experience and their perspective, but they can't tell our story from empathic, personal experience that they've gone through. They can only tell it from what they perceive would be or could be your experience. So the uniqueness, the value, the reason for Pick is because we have an opportunity using the Pick TV network to expose the world from our viewpoint, our standpoint, our vantage point, the experiences. No white person can tell what it feels like to be a Black person being pulled over by the police. I don't care how woke, how awake, how liberal, how much you lived in this. They cannot, because time and time again, we've seen videos where you have a Black and a white person, and the Black person gets stopped by the police, is thrown on the ground, boot in their neck, handcuffed, and being sat on, while the white person is pretty much given a bottle of water, asking if they're okay.
Yeah.
It's almost impossible to really convey that. You can show the image on TV, but to actually have somebody who's been through that, who's understand the trauma and the terrorism that you have to deal with on a regular basis when you see the police, when you walk into a bank being rejected, walk into at a job interview and being told that the job is taken. They just advertised the job 24 hours ago. It was in this release. You show up 24 hours later with your resume in hand. They say, "Oh, sorry, the job's been taken." But then the person who came after you is somebody that you see is white, gets the interview, and gets a job, and they're offering you, more qualified individual, a job in the mailroom or doing in the janitorial services, or totally rejected and turned away. Those experiences cannot be really put on screen, articulated, and emphasized in a way that folks who haven't been through it can truly understand it and express it. So the value of PIC is to give us that opportunity to do that, because the amount of talent that we have in our communities, whether it's Hispanic, Latinos, South and Central American, Caribbean, 54 nations of Africa, and the myriad of diversity that we have on the continent through our cultures, because the lines is not how we are, how we're grouped. We're grouped by our cultural alignment. That's what makes us who we are. Because even though we may live in Nigeria, we eat differently. We experience. Jamaica is this big. It's a very small country. Jamaica has 13 parishes, and in each parish is 13 separate culture and multiple subcultures, multiple language, dialect in a language. And most people, if you're not from Jamaica, you don't really understand this and realize. You think, oh, Jamaica, everybody's no problem. There's significant differences going from parish to parish in Jamaica. The language is different. The nuances are different. You have, so many, and then you have the influence of others coming in, but you have so many different subcultures within the culture itself. It's fascinating. So you can imagine Jamaica is a dot on the map compared to Africa, and it's amazing how people just take for granted, oh, they're African or they're black, they're all the same. We have significant differences, and we can tell our stories with tremendous vibrations and colors and vibrant and enthusiasm and history, culture, from a perspective that if you are not into their culture or have been introduced to it, you wouldn't understand it, because you see it, but there's an appreciation for it that you can actually present unless you are going through it. You muted yourself.
Yeah, man, I got so caught up in hearing you talk, man. I was just like, let me just soak this in. Let me take something in too. Folks, you're watching a brand new show on PIC TV Network. My name is David Evans, founder of PIC TV Network, and my co-founders with me today, Mr. Campbell. We're talking about today a real heart-touching subject, the students who are being African-American students or African students mistreated in Ukraine. And we showed you some images, and we hope that everybody look at the replay. Show it to everybody you know. This is a brand new show. Again, hello, America. This is our show, created from the nation's capital, where I've been all my life. You see the Capitol back there. This brother been there. I'm right here. I work right down the street from the Capitol, and this is my home, and it will always be my home. I love Washington, D.C. I was born here, and I have brothers and sisters and family here. I grew up in the D.C. public school systems, so this is my home. But when I think about people who are fighting for their lives, and this kids, and we talked about this earlier, when you're a student in school, you're young. We've been in our 20s, we've been in our 30s, 40s. But when you're young at that age, you don't understand it. You don't understand why. You don't understand all of what's going on. All they're doing right now is trying to fight for their life. And I think if you at the train, before I do get Brother Campbell, you should be able to get on. If you walk 4 hours to get to the train, and you should be able to get on. But that's not the case. That's not the case.
Yeah, I think a lot of the women and children have already been let out of the country. So at this point, there's not even a justification to say that they're saving room for women and children, particularly when you're watching able-bodied white Ukrainian men walking past you and taking a seat on the transportation that you were either denied or removed. And the reason how they told you is, well, no more, or women and children only, or it's full, and they're letting folks walk right past you because there's footage of it. You know, so these stories are not, anecdotal. There's actual footage, and I think the message is getting out. People's cell phones, using social media, and to be able to utilize our medium to help bring awareness and bring attention and bring action and hopefully relief to the folks that's there. And I'm glad that we're able to have this conversation and highlight this. The people of Ukraine are suffering, and we want to get them the aid they need, but we also need them to act responsibly, without hatred, discrimination, and in a fair manner.
Campbell, we have a Twitter audience now, and our Twitter audience is a major audience, and that Twitter audience is Jada Pickett, 1.6 million followers. Will Smith, millions of followers. Bill Gates, 57.5 million followers. Steve Harvey, 4.5 million followers. Barack Obama, our former president forever, 1.3.2 million followers. Kevin Hart, 37 million followers. Elon Musk, 78 million followers. Jamie Foxx, one of our greatest persons we love in comedy, 4.6 million followers. Kamala Harris, our first African American vice president, 19.5 million followers. President Biden, our president today, 33.9 million followers. Warren Buffett, 94.7 thousand followers. Mark Zuckerberg, Jeff Bezos, founder of Amazon, 3.7 million followers. Tyler Perry, 6.5 million followers. Oprah Winfrey, 43.2 million followers. LeBron James, 51 million followers. But if we're not going over there and doing something to help these brothers and sisters over there who are being mistreated, Brother Campbell, the numbers, it's just numbers. They don't care about the names that we just saying. If I need help, if I need food, if I need some water, who's going to help me to make it to the next place to save my life? Are we getting bigger and bigger, but are we getting better? It's a difference. And I'm happy for everybody who we're reaching through Twitter, and we have these addresses and people who we just loaded up because we're on Twitter now. And I hope somebody see these messages out of these millions of people. Because this is not about me or you. And we didn't make this up, just like you stated. If we help another person come out who's stuck there, who's afraid to go out the dorm, there's no more food left. They don't know what to do, they're shell shocked.
I think the question you asked is very relevant. Are we getting better? And I would like to say that we have to acknowledge the power of one, the power of the individual, the power of the person, because America was on a particular trajectory in the world under the Obama administration. There was a visible difference in how the world treated us and how the world was operating. Following the end of the Obama presidency and the beginning of the next presidency, that one particular individual created a firestorm that just swept through the world with absolute total destruction and disregard for human life. And people want to know, what is their one vote, their one voice, their one action themselves? What is it that they can do? It's not going to make a difference. And it makes all the difference in the world, as we can tell. You know, each one's voice adds to the conversation and the noise that's taking place to make it louder and louder and louder. And, you know, our movements are led by individuals. They're led by a person. You have to put a face and put somebody in charge, because we follow individuals, we follow leaders, we follow people. And if we have the right message, people will follow that leader who's giving out that message. I think being able to utilize our platform to identify what's taking place, and now a call to action in which we would have everyone that's watching get on their Twitter, their Facebook, and whatever social mediums that you may have access to. Get on your telephone, call, post, repost information about making sure that the African children, the children from Asia, and Muslim children, African Americans, return safely and are not being discriminated against while the war in Ukraine is taking place. We have to call it out and call out those countries and call out those leaders. And if they're asking for our support, you can't ask for our support in your time of crisis while you are terrorizing our citizens. It doesn't make sense. So whatever platform that we have access to, whatever platform that we're posting on, we're tweeting on, we're, scrolling on, we need to be commenting. We need to be making sure our voices are heard, that we see what's taking place, and we're not supporting it. And if that continues, our governments will not be allowed to continue to support those governments in their fight against the invasion and the war, because we have to take a firm stance. If we don't, then we're saying it's okay that what's taking place, it's okay. I don't respect myself enough, and I'm going to commit myself to join on the forces of oppression to support the greater good, and what's going on with the individual, it's not important. And we can't continue in that way. So we have
The chat is just
speak out.
help, please, can you help us out, please, can anybody help? There's parents there, there's children there, and they're trapped there, and it's when the news came about what happened in Kyiv, we were scrambling to get supplies together because we knew we had to leave. The next day, there were sirens that went off, so we immediately decided to leave. We left everything, and we headed to the border of Romania. So the day the news broke out, I instantly thought about the African community in Ukraine, because I knew nobody would prioritize what was going to happen to us. So I started creating Telegram chats so that people could communicate and think of ways to get out, and sharing resources on Twitter, along with trying to find my own way out. The students on the ground in Sumy have been raising their concerns with me about what is happening. So far we've been able to find 1,000 students, but there's still some students that we're not in touch with, and the number is growing every single day. So currently they're all packed into like little areas in hostels together because it's not safe. We've been told that they're now running out of food. In the shops, there's just snacks. They're too scared to leave to even go get more food. So the situation is very, very serious. Like it's very dire. I'm exhausted. I'm so tired of the journey itself, but I'm also increasingly like, it's really, really upsetting me, like speaking to students every day who are crying out for help. And I know that I've managed to cross over to the other side, and I can't help those people by myself. We realize that trying to put the buses together ourselves without any support from any convoy or anybody who can assure their safety out of Sumi, we may be actually putting their lives in danger. So now we're just trying to raise awareness of the situation and appeal for help at the powers at be.
Well, Campbell, when I go back and I see this footage right here,
all the kids at the train station.
Oh man, that it's just touching because I can imagine that when the bombs go off, you're scared, you're afraid, and then when you try to go to the station, just look at the
Right
line
there,
right
that
there.
picture.
It's unbelievable. It's so many of us on both sides of the track, but I don't see a train. I don't see anybody coming to get them. These kids, they're not even 21 years old. They're not 25 years old. These are kids. And as you stated, it's freezing cold out there, man.
A lot of them are 17, 18 because 19 years old because they graduate younger. They graduate at 16. They graduate at 15. And they're going for their, advanced degrees. So a lot of them are 17, 18, 19 years old. And is their first time leaving home. They're in a country where surrounded by other countries where no one looks like them, don't speak the language, or the languages. So it's a dire situation. They're doing the best they can, and we need to advocate on their behalf so that they can get the support they need to get to safety and get home. I applaud the effort that the young lady's doing, and it also goes to the point of Africans are connected on social media, online. They utilize social media to communicate very well because they're on vast amounts of land, and they've been ahead of the technology game going back to the early 90s. So people think that Africa is not connected, or, there are parts in the United States that's not connected. There's some parts in the DMV that's not connected. Have poor signals. But no one says we call that part of the world third world country. The technologists haven't reached out there yet. The population doesn't support the cost to put the towers there yet. So the folks on the continent, continent is 3.5 times the size of the United States. So there's going to be plenty of vast areas that don't have connection. But they've been working through it and figuring it out. We can call almost anybody on WhatsApp, almost anywhere in the world.
Yeah.
And that's just one technology. Marco Polo is another, Signal's another. So there's technology that exists that we can use to reach people around the world. We have to, respect her humanity, her care for her fellow person. She didn't say she connected with fellow Zimbabweans because she's from Zimbabwe. She didn't say she connected with South Africans. She connected with other Africans, people that she knew were not getting a help to get out of Ukraine. So, there are people who are in the situation doing the right thing, but they don't have the resources. They don't have the access. They don't have the connection. They don't have the. Like she said, you can send buses in there, but are you putting more people in danger if you don't have the routes mapped out? Because you could be driving people into a tank where they're going to be killed. So the government of the Ukraine need to step up and make sure that the citizens from, who are Muslim, who are African, who are Asian, can get out safely. Then they can get the support of the rest of the world, because they can say, man, the way that you took care of everybody to make sure that everyone was safe, we have to go in and now protect and take care of you. That's what would happen. But you're asking people to risk their lives to come in and protect you when you're not protecting the people who are there, especially if they don't look like you.
Yeah, I really think that this show tonight, Hello America, is this birthing this show, and I think it needs to be shown all over the world. First of all, it's not about Pick TV Network. This is bigger than our network. This is a life-saving information presentation, not put together by us, but you heard the stories of the people who are over there. The young lady who still trying to reach back and get others. As I stated to my brother Campbell, who's with us with Pick TV Network, my co-founder, we're gonna sleep in a warm bed tonight. I'm gonna go upstairs, get in a nice warm bed. If it's cool or cold, I'll turn the heat on. They don't have that. How can you go to the bathroom when you've been walking and there's no bathroom to go to? When there's no food to eat? When you have to walk 8 hours to get to the next place to stay alive? And we're not even talking about the senior citizens or, and our heart goes out to everybody. I want everybody to understand one thing before we close this broadcast. We are praying for everyone, every family in Ukraine we're concerned about. Young, old, rich, poor, Caucasian, African American, everybody. But our presentation tonight is basically for the students. We're reaching out to see how we can throw a lifeline out and help the students who are trapped there that we don't hear too much about. But Cameron, we heard it from them.
Precisely.
We heard it from them. It doesn't get any more clear than that, This is segment one. Brand new talk show on Pick TV Network, Hello America. We're gonna come back. We're gonna close this broadcast out because we've been going for an hour and almost 30 minutes now, but it's not enough. If you want to help and you want to get involved, you can call the Pick TV Network. You can chat in as you look at the replay of this. Do what you can do. And just think about if that was your daughter, if that was your son, if that was your loved one there, what would you do? And just thank God we have a network where we can go uncensored, uncut, where we can have our 60 channels and we can create a channel like Hello America where we can showcase our version of our presentation from Washington, D.C. all over the world. Because you do know what happens here in Washington, D.C. affects the world. You know who sleeps in that building behind me. Where the Lord is.
We talk about the power of one, and Dr. Evans, you are a pastor, and you created a network of 100 pastors across the United States, like almost 2 in every state, and would have your monthly conference calls. And the power I saw in that network is how if somebody was in New York or somebody was in California, somebody was in Illinois, and you had pastors in those states. So if somebody needed help, when the hurricane took place in the Bahamas, and there was disaster in Kansas, in those areas, you were able to mobilize trucks with
But Rev Campbell, Rev
yeah.
Campbell, look at this text we just got in, bro. Do you see that?
hmm
What does it say?
Thank you for raising awareness on this issue here in Africa by Cheeto. I think Cheeto's in South Africa.
We're praying for you, bro. We're praying for your families. Anything we can do. This is the power of us having this. And I think it all boils down to this moment right here, Bud Campbell. While we did this presentation, and it's about what, 1 o'clock in Washington, D.C. time in the morning. We decided to come on around 12 midnight to do this show. In Africa, I don't know, it's about daytime over there.
6 a.m.
And we couldn't go to sleep tonight, bro. This brother said, look at his response, Bud Campbell.
Yes, he is in South Africa.
Yeah. We reach in South Africa, folks. And he just said, thank you, communicating with us. And what he says, Brother Campbell, 7:35 there. I wish we can get you on, bro. We can send you a digital link. If we can get your email, I would love to bring you on live with us in Washington, D.C. and have you on. This is what it's all about. Campbell, when we started this broadcast an hour ago, I never thought we would have someone on from over in Africa and saying thank you for raising awareness in our issues here. I never thought that. I never thought that brother would come on and link into our conversation. What a powerful, powerful media source that we on live around the world. And now we have a brother chatting in from YouTube saying thank you for wearing awareness on what's here in Africa, 7 o'clock in the morning.
But that's the power of media. We could be on here talking nonsense. We could be on here miseducating people by talking about something that's not factual. We could be making stuff up, doing movies that are fantasy. But we choose to deal with the current issue that's facing the people from Africa, Muslim folks, and Caribbean people in Ukraine. Because there were Jamaicans that were stuck in Ukraine and couldn't get out as well. So being able to use this platform to raise awareness, to touch people, 6 hours away in the continent, to touch people 12 hours away in other parts of the world, to ask them to email us with the information how they can be, figure out how they can be helpful, who we can connect them with, and what can be done. But number one thing is, don't keep this information to yourself. Go on social media, post it, let it be known, raise your voice, because each one voice add up to something. So each one voice makes a difference. I thank the brother for listening and for responding and paying attention to the issue, because we have to mobilize. It doesn't, this can happen to anybody, anywhere, to anyone, anywhere, any given point in time. We saw the buildup happen in Ukraine, and we kind of had more time to plan, and but evacuating that many people under any circumstances is going to be challenging. But imagine if it was a terrorist situation that were on the seas from anywhere in the world. It can happen with terrorism. Imagine if it was a natural disaster that would happen anywhere in the world with a flood or a mudslide, or any other type of disaster, or an accident that caused a nuclear or some other meltdown take place. We have to look out for each other in a way that first, humanity first. We're all on this planet. We all need to live together, work together, and figure it out.
You know,
Go ahead, Doc.
I said when I'm listening to you, bro, you always was telling me, and I think that when we talked about this in MGM, when we created this network, you talked about how great this network would be, and I really didn't believe it was going to be as big as we're looking at tonight, Campbell. That means they're watching. While we're on in Washington D.C., it's blowing my mind. We're live on PIC TV Network, and we're talking about how Ukraine African students are being mistreated in Ukraine. And while we on live, we literally have a brother from over in Africa saying thank you. He's seeing the broadcast. He's seeing this presentation. If that don't touch you, I don't know what, you must not be alive.
You know, you have the country scrolling on the bottom of the screen that the broadcast is taking place in, where PIC is, where Roku has a presence. But you know, since we are on the internet, we are in the world. But going back to that, almost every single country on that list I've traveled to, and getting a chance to talk to people from those areas and from other parts of the world, I know how much they value anything coming out of American media, because we have so much freedom in this country. We take it for granted, and they don't have the kind of freedom, that they don't have the kind of opportunity, they don't have the kind of access that we are exposed to. So much so that even people that's from Washington D.C. never been by the White House, you know, never been by the monument, haven't been to the museums. We take it for granted. People in New York don't go to the Empire State Building or the Statue of Liberty. You know, people in California only go across the Golden Gate Bridge when they absolutely have to. You know, so no matter what beauty you have in your city, in your state, we don't take advantage of it. We take the opportunity and we kind of skirt it away. But in other countries, they don't have that opportunity. So when they do get a shot, they go all in. They give it their all. Giving people an opportunity to get access to the media like this on PIC TV, to be able to be broadcast around the world, is an opportunity that they would not have if we were not present.
Wow.
Being able to have their voices heard, get their viewpoints involved in the conversation, you know, we take it for granted because we have freedom of speech. A lot of people have been locked up in other countries because they think they have freedom of speech. You don't have the First Amendment. You know, you don't have a constitution. You know, so the rights that we take, talking back, you know, being disruptive in some countries, that's 5 years in jail automatically. As you can see on Russian TV, just saying war, that gets you 15 years. You know, so we take for granted all the freedom that we have, and we don't maximize the opportunity when we get it.
Wow, man, that's amazing. You know, I'm just blown away at our comment from our brother from over in Africa. You know, saying 7:37, and we want to communicate with you, brother, and whatever we can do to help over there, or help you, or help any of the students. We're gonna do our part with PIC TV Network. Please, if you can, and I want my brother to know that our prayers are with you. It's with the families there. You know, I know you guys over there are strong, and if you can just click and play, you see some information there on the PIC TV Network about our information, about our phone number, about our contacts. You know, we would love to talk with you and have you on live with us in the States here in Washington, D.C., me and Brother Campbell. Campbell, I just think, man, thank God for this broadcast tonight, man. We sacrificed to stay up late to do this broadcast because it's going to be shown all over the world. And it is morning where he's at. And I believe that somebody else going to see this broadcast, somebody else want to contribute to the broadcast or whatever. We want to do some greater things. But everything you've been telling me for the last 2 years, I see it now. How big our network is and how much we're going to reach people. I see it. It's coming alive right before our eyes.
You know, the growth, the organic growth of the network is something I've always envisioned, because I see where, you know, when you build a base from the ground up, you know, running campaigns and doing grassroots events and getting people from the ground up, it has so much value because they become a part of you. You build customer loyalty. There's a reason why advertisers target children, because once they introduce the product to the child grows up with an understanding of what the product is, and now they take ownership of that product and they carry it with them and give it to their children. You know, we want the people watching PIC to grow up with us. We're new. We're a year and a half in. You want them to grow with us, to build with us, to take ownership, to get their own programs and do things that lead to, you know, the freedom of information that will make, you know, kind of even level the playing field.
Wow. It's amazing, man.
Our colleague Kaya Kumalo is there with them. Kaya, some beautiful scenes coming out from the OR Tambo International Airport as the students arrive. Tell us what's been happening this morning.
Well, that's right, Desiree. Very heartwarming scene here as the two students who were caught up really in those very ugly scenes in Ukraine. They've really just arrived in here. And of course, it's been a very agonizing experience for them. So I'm just going to go straight just to hear how they are feeling. So Nkateko, I'm just going to start with you. You're live on SABC News. How are you feeling right now? Finally, you're home after a very terrible ordeal.
Yeah, it's been a 5 or 6 day trip. Minimum sleep. I feel quite overwhelmed, but I'm really glad to be home. We didn't think we'd be home, honestly. From being in trains to seeing bombs to being stuck in borders for -3 conditions, sleeping on the floor without having food. It's good to be home, honestly. Yeah.
And let's hear from you, Mandisa. I mean, not a very good experience for you guys that you endured.
As you said, like traveling for 4 days, not having proper food, no water, fighting for our lives, fighting other people, people trying to fight you, people stealing food, people fighting each other to get on trains, the racism at the borders, the low temperatures, freezing cold, us having to sleep on the streets. Yeah.
So it was a survival of the fittest. Guys make it.
You have to run.
Honestly, by the
you need to know how to run. Yeah.
By the grace of God.
Yeah.
And I must say, I must thank the people in Hungary, especially Peter. As soon as we arrived, the hospitality was amazing. We got taken care of, you know, given food, water, shelter. That was nice to experience that kind of hospitality.
And did you guys feel at some point that you were left in your own devices because the assistance really was not really forthcoming, was it?
Assistance. All I just keep hearing all the time is send a list of names, send a list of names, just wait. Wait for how long? Because if we had waited until Monday to leave, Monday there's nothing. There's no school, our apartments are gone. If we did not leave Friday, we wouldn't be here today. If we didn't leave Friday.
So you guys are back home. What are you going to do now?
Sleep.
Try and look for different schools. Like, we are fourth-year medical students, so we don't know what's going to happen now since our university is deteriorated. Our city is done. There's nothing. Rubbles. It's dire. It's really, really dire. I must say, that might be hard. Like, we're trying to apply. That'll be what I'm doing here.
All right, guys, we're going to leave it for now. But Desiree, I'm just going to see if we can speak to the mother just to hear her. How is she feeling right now? She was telling me about a very traumatic experience she had to endure as well. So, Mama, right now, how you're feeling. Your daughter is finally home. You were telling me about the flight you had to try and get and experiencing all kinds of hardship. How are you feeling at this point?
I'm so relieved. I'm so relieved, and I thank God they are here. I can see them now. Physically, I can see them. I thank God. That's all I can say.
How was that experience when Mandisa was sending you the voice notes right in the thick of one of the very unprecedented time, right in the war?
It was very difficult for us as a family, but we had to pray and trust God that He is protecting them. Not only Mandisa, all of them. I was praying for all of them. I was even praying for the whole of Ukraine. So God is so wonderful. God is so wonderful. He's so faithful. Yes, all I can say, I thank God.
All right, Mama, thank you so much. Of course, Desiree, that's Mandisa's mother. Of course, she's quite grateful. It hasn't been a very easy experience. And of course, you can see the scene where we are, right? The arrivals at terminals. Of course, you can see the families here. You can really see a very heartwarming moment. It's a joyous occasion as the family now will be interacting and making sure that their children are looked after. But also they were really talking about their experiences, really traversing the hardship and really a very emotionally taxing experience being away from home, especially because it's the coldest time in Ukraine. So imagine facing quite a very horrendous war. So,
well, Campbell, so man, we have to close this broadcast, but we got to do another segment. Our brother over in Africa who just popped in and chatted in with us. We've got to find a way to get him on because I want him to come on the broadcast with us. You know, if you can chat in and we can get his email, WhatsApp, whatever we got to do to get a signal to bring him on. This has been amazing. Those who are watching right now, this is our show, Hello America. You'll see it only on the PIC TV network. It's our show, organized by us, founded by us, Mr. Campbell and I. We're doing our first segment of many, many more. I believe God smiled down on us tonight because we had the person chat in from over in Africa who's here, and he's saying thank you. And I think we got another chat. I just seen something else that he popping in with us, saying thank you. You know, and we're saying thank you for popping in and giving us the love that we have. Man, I'm just gonna take a breath, a deep breath, and say I love you, bro. Hug the kids for me. Tell the wife I said hello, man, and thank you for being the best co-host in the world, man. For
I'm
this,
just trying to keep up with you, Doc. Up at 2 o'clock in the morning, up early, late. I remember before you started this, you were getting 10 hours of sleep a night.
Hey, but listen, it's 7 o'clock over in Africa, man. So,
the world is ready and waiting. There's tremendous opportunity, 24/7, bringing people in from all over the continent, all over the world, getting different viewpoints, and a lot of people won't. To some people, this is their first interaction with Black people in America. That's not in the movies. That's not rappers. That's not playing sports. Seeing two regular human being Black men sitting down, having a conversation, talking about real issues that's affecting them in their country. And I think it's an opportunity to really be transformational, change the narrative, and change the paradigm that people place us in certain boxes to a paradigm of regular people that can have conversations about global events and have a perspective that they can relate to. Because they wouldn't get this opportunity anywhere else. This is something that you don't find on Fox, you don't find on ABC and CNN and MSN. You're not getting this type of just raw, uncut conversation. This is not. We're not reading from note cards, or we're not reading from what's coming up on the teleprompter. We're actually having a dialogue about the circumstances that the Africans and Caribbeans and Muslim and Asian students face in Ukraine, in a war zone, being discriminated against, being abused, being denied access to services, being harassed at the border. You know, it's unbelievable. It's like a bad movie. You know, so this platform is something that I'm so glad that you continue to invigorate, to energize, to just pump your all into it, so that we can continue to grow and moving on to our second year and adding, I think, more content from around the globe to bring a new dynamic, new life to what it is that we've created here. So I just appreciate you so much, and thank you for your continued injection of yourself into the entire network. So, and thank your family for sharing you with us as well.
And we have some good people out here, man. Again, when we on Twitter, when we locked into Twitter, we have a Twitter audience that we send our links to now, from the president to everybody. And I want to give a shout out to Anthony Anderson, Rotimi from Power, Kim Burrell, Vicky Winans, Dorinda Clark Cole, Maya, who had just seen Sunday at the MGM, Howie Hewitt, Trina, William Hung, Claudia Jordan, Brian Mitchell, Reginald Ballard, Brumman from the fifth floor of Martin Lawn Show, Kid and Play, D.L. Hughley. And today we just got another promo from Super Queen, who is a movie actor today, who gave us another promo. It's so many people that I want to thank. And these people gave us promos. And when they gave us promos, I'm just so happy and I'm so thankful, and I feel so honored and blessed, because they didn't have to take time out to do anything. But when they took time out to give us a promo, and Miss Debbie Morgan today, a beautiful queen, she gave us that promo today, Brother Campbell. She's a movie star. We're going to be putting hers up here too. She sent us this today. We're blessed, man. And I think because we're giving back, and we heard the brother on today from West Africa, when we started this program, and we got to close, folks, African students mistreated in Ukraine. And then when the brother came on from over there and said, thank you, this touched my heart, man. I think this is what it was all about before we even got started. I believe God saw that. And I think this is the first time we stayed up to do a late night show this late this year. Because I know when we first started, we were doing shows late. But
3 a.m. in the morning. But this is so important. We didn't have an outlet. There wasn't an outlet for us to convey this. And I think when I first brought up to your attention, it was like, we do have a network and we have to get the word out about what's taking place. But for the most part, most people are just watching it saying, wow, that's sad, and feel they can't contribute or do anything about it. And I just want to go back to the fact that when you had that network of pastors, and you have access to people from around the world, and to be able to reach out to somebody and say, hey, I have somebody there, can you help them? We can use that very same network, serve as a conduit to bring information back and forth, so people know, instead of going to Poland, maybe head to Hungary, and stop here along the way. We're going to use this channel to send donations so that there's food, blankets, and clothing. All these things can be done. We're in a position where we can actually do these things and connecting with people who are on the ground and then adding to the networks that they've already created, so we can make sure that they get the supplies that they need. They get the information in real time that they need so that they can actually travel safely and get back home to their families.
It's all done. Hey, everybody, thank you for watching our brand new hit show on the PIC TV network, Hello America. My name is David Evans, and my brother, Mr. Campbell, is here, and we're going to see you next time on the show. It's been great. It's been awesome, and we're praying for everybody over in Ukraine. We're praying that peace will come your way real soon. God bless you. Until we meet again is our prayer.
That's Desiree, back to you in studio.
Absolutely, Kaya. Thank you so much. Let's take you back.
It's good to see people come together. It's good to see people be blessed.
We've all been hurt at some point, even abandoned. Many of us have done the hurting ourselves. We get to the point where we don't trust anyone, nor do we feel worthy of being loved by anyone. Then there's that one person who just doesn't give up on loving you. Their love is unconditional. Their love stays long enough for you to heal. And then they promise to never leave. That's love you can count on. God's love. Count on me. Don't be worried. Cast all your troubles away. Wherever you're going, just know that I'll be there. Count on me, put on your smile. No need to frown, 'cause I'm here. Just look to me.